So I've just started a recorder which will be capturing everything on my screen. Whatever I am going to do will be captured in here. So everybody at this stage, you are at the same stage here, installed and coming on the same screen. Machine is restarting after that. Okay. So we'll click on new. This asks me what type of operating system I want to install. So the first thing that we have to do is just click on the new. Now it will be asking you the name, by what name you want to create. Okay. So let's say I want to create Red Hat. The moment I said Red Hat, it automatically selected my operating system type as Linux and version as Red Hat 64-bit. Okay. Click on next. Now how much RAM do you want to assign? Based on my hardware configuration, it has automatically taken 1024. That is 1 GB of RAM. It has automatically selected for me. Then next, it's asking me, do I want to create a virtual hard disk? Yes, I want to create a virtual hard disk. Now what type of virtual hard disk I want to create? VirtualBox, virtual hard disk, or virtual machine disk. Difference between the three is VDI images are compatible with Microsoft MedV and AppV virtualization. Even if in case you are having Citrix, XenApp or XenServer for the hardware or OS virtualization, you can use it. VHD, this is compatible with your Microsoft Hyper-V servers, Hyper-V virtualization, and Microsoft Virtual PC architecture. And VMDK, if in case you are using VMware ESX. So these devices can be exported to ESX appliances also. So you can create a virtual machine here on your local computer, and then in future if you want, this can be exported to ESX if it is a VMDK, can be exported to Hyper-V if in case it is a VHD, and can be exported to Citrix XenDesktop if in case it is a VDI. So this is the compatibility. If you want to make it compatible for XenDesktop, that's my VDI. If I want to make it compatible with Hyper-V, it's my VHD. And if I want to make it compatible with VMware ESX, it is my VMDK. When I'm just doing a practical, I'm building my own home lab, it doesn't matter what I'm creating, because all three are supported by the virtual PC, this VirtualBox. So you can keep on the default whatever is there. Okay. Now storage on physical disk, where I want to store it. Now there are two options here that you have. One is dynamically expanded and second is fixed. When you say that I want to create a disk of 10 GB and say it as fixed. So on my local machine, the physical hard disk, that 10 GB of space will be reserved, and I cannot use it for any other purpose. Whereas when I say that dynamically allocated, this is I'm saying that my virtual hard disk can grow maximum up to this limit. When you say dynamically allocated, you are defining the maximum growth limit. Whereas when you say fixed, you are saying that this is specific of this much capacity. Click on next. Now like say here it is selected 8 GB. So this 8 GB means that the disk can maximum expand up to a capacity of 8 GB. It will not be able to hold more than 8 GB of data. So first is I am changing the path where I want to store. So I am going to keep it on my D drive in my virtual machines. You can store it anywhere. Because I don't have much space on my C partition, so I'm storing it on my D. And when I'm saying that I want it to be of capacity say 80 GB, I'm creating it as G virtual machines redhat.vdi max limit of 80 GB. What it means is maximum it can grow up to 80 GB of capacity. Okay. Done. Now my disk is created. A virtual machine got generated and it is powered on. But when I am going to power on or start it, I will not be able to work on it because there is no operating system as of now. I don't have any OS. So for providing it the installation media, I need to firstly click on settings. Just select. So I have just created this Red Hat, selected it and clicked on settings. Now in your settings, come to the storage tab. Click on this storage. Okay. Now under that, if you check, there is a CD icon which is coming up as empty. Select it. Come to the right hand side of your screen where it is written ID secondary master, and there is a CD icon next to it. Click on that CD icon, and there is an option called as your choose virtual optical disk file. Now it will ask you where is the ISO image. So we have kept our ISO images on the training data folder. Red Hat server and open. Okay. How I got it? Once again, selected my VM that I just created, settings, storage, click on this empty CD icon. Okay. Then come to the right hand side of your screen and look for the CD icon again. Drop it. Choose virtual optical disk file. Go to the path where we have copied the ISO images. Select the Red Hat Server 7. Open. Okay. Okay. This added a virtual CD-ROM to my computer, to my virtual machine. Okay. Now click on Start. So there you will get in options like this. Now here on my screen I have three options. Default is test this media and install Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7. This is if in case you are doing the installation from a physical CD. It might happen my storage is not proper or something, cause of which the physical CD got scratched. There are some scratches or the media is not readable. There is some fault with my ISO image or with my hard disk. So what I can do is to verify that my installation media is intact and there is no missing files, there is no error, the media is properly readable. We do this particular option as test this install media. But because I know that there is no problem with my ISO image, so I am skipping this step and coming directly to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux media. What happened? Got stuck? Power button is on top. So what we'll do here is, we'll select the option install Red Hat Enterprise Linux and enter. Now allow it some time. If you have not given RAM greater than equal to 1 GB, you will be placed into a command line mode of installation. But if you have 1 GB or above RAM, you will move ahead to do the installation using your graphical console. So on your right hand side corner of the screen, the first option is, it's asking me what is my installation language. What is the language that I want to use during my installation process? So based on the part of globe for which you are deploying your Linux installation, select the language according to your choice. So like say, if in case you want to take care of the whole installation in Amharic language, which is a language I hope it's common to Ethiopia, you can select this language and the whole installation will now be presented in your language. Yeah, that is like currently the steps whichever are coming in, these are in my US English format. But if I select this option as Amharic, the next steps, my next screen, see here what happened. My continue button converted to continue in your language. Okay, so this is how I want to have my installation experience. So if I'm not much comfortable with US English, what I can do is I can switch to my language and do the installation there. So when I click on continue, now the next screen will be shown to me in the language which I have selected. So there is slight changes into the installation methodology on Red Hat 7 as compared to the previous versions installation. Here in Red Hat 7 installation, you have only one single screen where you can make all the choices. It's not that sequential process. Previously, my installation process was a sequential one. First select the language, then select the keyboard layout, then select your date and time, then select your language support, then your installation source, then your installation destination, then your software selection, then your network, and then finally you can begin your installation. Here, I can make all those selections on one single screen here. I don't have to follow a sequential process. Everything is here. Whichever option you want to configure first, you can configure that one. So here, like say, I don't want to use the America New York time zone. Click on that. Now it is giving you the time zone which you want to use. So let's say I want to use Africa Addis Ababa time zone. Either you can drop it from the list or directly click on the map. Your time zone is selected. Wherever you are going to click, it gets adjusted according to that. Okay, now you can adjust your time in AM or PM time zones. You want to specify your time in AM and PM format, or you want to specify your time in 24-hour format. Okay, now what's my current time? It's 12:19 PM. On the top left corner, now you have a done button. Okay, my date and time zone got adjusted. Now here if you check, earlier it was coming up as New York time zone. Now it has converted to Africa Addis Ababa. What language supports do I want to have? I want to have support for English language, okay, and I want to have a support for Amharic language. So together with English, it will also install the packages for Emrit. Okay. Now from where do I want to do the installation? Where do I have my installation source? It's on my local CD, or if in case your installation is coming from a network, you can do the installation from a network server also. So on the network, by which protocol? HTTP, HTTPS, FTP or NFS. My installation server could be somewhere on anywhere in my network, and I can do the installation from that network. It could be locally here in Addis, or it could be, let's say, in Lagos. Your server is here and you want to do the installation in Lagos. So that you can do. Configure your server here. The person who is doing the installation in Lagos, or the person who is doing the installation in Nairobi or in Tanzania or in your Mozambique, he will have to do only one thing: select the option on the network, select the protocol by which you have published your installation source, and he can do the installation there. Okay, but as of now, this is the first server we are going to configure. I don't have all those things here with me. Done. What set of packages I want to install? Here there is a predefined package group based on the functionality, based on the type of job that I expect my server to do. Red Hat has done a job and it has configured some predefined groups here. Like if I want to have server with GUI, so it will give me the basic server class enterprise class operating system. That is the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system, with having the basic network infrastructure services and the GUI environment. Second is virtualization host. If I select the option virtualization host, then in that case, it is going to provide me the packages required for configuring virtual machines on Linux itself. Like my KVM, libvirt, all my libvirt packages, bridge utils, all those things will be provided to me by the virtualization host package. I will get the KVM kernel. I will get the libvirt package. My virtualization applications will be available to me. Third is a basic web server. That is, you will get the basic server class operating system with Apache web server installed. Only installed, not configured. You will get the Apache web server installed in here. Then file and print server, you will get the packages like say Samba, CIFS, NFS pre-installed on the system together with the basic services. Infrastructure server, where you will be getting in the packages for free IPA, DNS, DHCP and my LDAP directory protocol, NIS protocol. Those things will be pre-installed, installed, not configured. Okay, and minimal, which is the default, that is install only the minimal set of applications. Based on my requirement, we can add the applications in future. So generally in production scenarios, what we do is we do a minimal installation, and then as per the needs of my production or as per the needs of my department, needs of my client, we add extra packages to it. What we achieve by this? We achieve two things here. First, we are having the audit compliance with us. I am not having any unnecessary package that may not be according to my auditing compliances. Second, I do not have any unnecessary packages or services installed that could be making my server vulnerable. Because when I just simply said that infrastructure server, but I am not using it for the infrastructure services. So I have my Apache service installed, I have my NFS service installed, all those already there. I may not be using them, I may not be running the services, but still the ports are open. So making my server vulnerable over the network. So keeping a minimal installation and then installing as per demand of our client, we achieve two things: security compliance and audit compliance. We achieve the compliance status there because I am not having those things which are not required in my scenario. Unnecessary things are not there. We have a minimal server. But if you want to start on your home as a testing lab, you can always begin with server with the GUI, because in minimal installation, lot of your favorite programs will not be working. Like if you are used to running the ifconfig command. So in minimal installation, you do not have ifconfig. You have to worry about the IP commands only. Okay. So I'm taking in server with GUI, but not selecting any server. I'm just selecting the option server with GUI, but not selecting any service here. No service. So that I get the graphical console. Where? Version 6. That database server is now a part here. Yes, when you select the server with GUI, you have an option to make your selection choices here. Okay, MariaDB database server. So if I want to configure it as a database server, I have to select this specific MariaDB database server. That. So it will check my software source and the packages that I have selected. Accordingly, will identify how many packages it has to install, how many RPMs it has to install, to be more specific. Okay. Then it says that installation destination, where the installation to be done. Automatic partitioning is selected. We'll do only one thing. We'll click on it and say done. No changes. Now here in this case, I don't have to do the partitions. I don't have to create my /var/usr/home/opt/swap and all. The installation program will automatically do it. I don't have to do, the installation program will do it. I may want to have that, I may not want to have that. Yes. 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 That's what the concept we have. The Red Hat by default gives me a minimal installation. No services, no servers configured on it. Not even the network. Everything we have to configure according to our needs. Whatever is my requirement, I will add that particular service, I will add that particular package, I will install that particular RPM. Here I have selected server with GUI. I can do it. I can bring this GUI after installation also. But just for the sake that doing installation, after installation, if you are not comfortable initially working with the CLI environment, then in that case you have a colorful screen where you can do something, which gives you a somewhat similar look and feel environment from the previous environments where you have worked. Okay. But if in case you want to configure your own partitions, you want to define that /var/usr and all those things here, then what you have to do is click on installation. There is an option coming at the bottom, automatic configure partitioning. If I don't want to do it, I will have to select only I will configure partition. Now when I say done, it asks me to create my partitions. Okay. Now it is giving me option to create. Read what is coming on my left hand side top corner. What it says? Manual partitioning. Because I have said I will configure the partitions. Okay. Now on the bottom, available space 81.91, total space 81.91. New mount points will use what type of partitioning scheme? LVM, ButterFS, standard partitioning or thin provisioning. We'll talk about those things later on. I want a standard partitioning. Okay. Click on plus, my mount point, /. How much capacity I want to have for it? Let's say 10,000 megabytes, which is equal to 10 GB. Okay, now again plus mount point slash boot. Older versions of Linux, 512 MB is the capacity of slash boot. Till Red Hat 6.8, 6.9. Red Hat itself says that give 1024 MB, sorry, 512 MB. With Red Hat 7, the boot partition requirements have been increased because the bootloader is changed. So in Red Hat 7, we have a different bootloader. So 1 GB of space is required for the bootloader there. Okay. And next one, I want to have it here as swap. Now related to swap, there are various confusions, or there are various contradictory documents available over internet. On some websites it say that the size of my swap partition should be double to the size of my physical RAM. That is, if in case you have RAM of 1 GB, you are supposed to have a swap partition of 2 GB size. If you have RAM of 3 GB, you are supposed to have swap partition of 6 GB. If you have swap of 94 GB, are you going to create a swap partition of 190 GB? Think. The job of swap is only to manage my virtual memory. So I have a physical RAM of 94 GB. Would it be a feasible solution in real-time production servers creating 190 GB of swap partition? Sheer wastage of my storage. So related to swap, there are some contradictory statements available on various web portals, available on various documentation sites. The actual guidance given by Red Hat says that till the time you have up to 32 GB of RAM, you have up to 94 GB of RAM, there is no need to create a swap partition more than 32 gigs. Even if in case you have 124 GB of physical RAM, you should not create a swap partition more than 32 GB. 32 GB is in which everything can be easily managed. But if in case you have swap less than 4 GB, that is, if your RAM is less than equal to 4 GB, the size of your swap partition should be maximum equal to 4 gigs. If you have less than equal to 24 GB, then the swap size is maximum required as 8 GB. Okay, so I'm just creating it because I have taken 1 GB of RAM and it is less than equal to 4 GB. We are creating in a, I can have 4096 MB of swap, 4 GB swap. Add it there. Okay, so we created our boot partition, / and swap. If in case you are planning, your plan is to have all the users place their data on this central server. This server is the machine which is going to hold the profile of all my users. I'm not going to create users on each and every individual box, but I'm going to create profile of all users on one single box. Then in that case, the size of your home partition should be the largest. /home. /home should be given the maximum space. Due to obvious reason, every user is going to store his data there. Okay, so here we'll add one more partition as /home. We'll give it a capacity because here I'm not going to have multiple things. I'm giving it as 10,000 MB, again a 10 GB size. If you have lot of services, that will be dynamic in nature. Like the same machine you are going to configure as your LDAP server. Same you are going to configure as your DNS server. Same you are going to configure as your mailbox. Same you are going to configure as your database. Then in that case, the size of your /var should be a bigger one. Specifically, if you are talking about application as an Oracle database server, the Oracle database server will be specifically giving its documentation. Size of var greater than equal to 22 GB. You are installing Sybase. Sybase says that the size of var should be greater than equal to 13 GB. You are installing IBM DB2 database. It says that the size of swap should be greater than 20 GB. So that's a prerequisite of the specific application. You can provision your server accordingly. Otherwise, let it be a part of my /home itself. So for this, I'll create a 35 GB space. Sorry. Mount point as /var and space to be given it as 35 GB. Why? Because in future we are going to use the same machine, the same virtual machine for creating our YUM server, for creating our FTP server and the package publisher. So my FTP site goes to var FTP. My websites goes to var www. That is why I need to have this as a bigger partition. Okay. The rest of the space we are leaving 21 GB space free. If we require our further exercises, we will do it into it. Done. Okay. It gives me an option now. Can you read up now the device names? It's coming up as SDA. My first partition SDA1, SDA2, SDA3, SDA5, SDA6. Is it? So what it means, what type of disk do I have? I have a SATA or SCSI type of hard disk. Okay. If it is dev SD, it means that either I am having a serial ATA or I am having a SCSI disk. Got it? Okay. Then final step, network configuration. Here also, did you notice some change? If you have ever done installation of any of the previous version, you would be identifying some changes here in my network configuration. Can you identify the change? No changes? What's the name of my Ethernet interface? What's the name of my Ethernet interface here? ENP0S3. Whereas earlier what we used to have? ETH0, ETH1, ETH2 and so on. So this is something which is changed in Red Hat 7. In Red Hat 7 or your Ubuntu 16 or your SUSE 12, this is something which is modified. Now it uses port based device naming convention. It's something like when you are connected to your Cisco router, how do we have our device names or interface names there? So can you tell us, when we are connected to our Cisco routers, how is my serial interface names coming up now? S0/1/0, 0/1/2, 0/1/3, like that. Slot number, connection number and interface number. The same concept is here. Port, slot and interface. So here EN in my device name stands for Ethernet, P stands for PCI slot number 0 and S stands for interface 3. Ethernet on PCI controller 0, slot number 3. That's what the meaning of this ENP0S3. Okay, EN is Ethernet, P0 is PCI controller 0. S3 is my slot number 3. Okay. So this is the new way how Red Hat identifies your interfaces here. Now we can click on begin installation. My installation process has started. Now I can set my root password. Earlier this is something which I have to do during my preparation stages only. Once my installation started, after that I cannot do anything. But here you have an option to do it. Okay. I'm keeping my root password as Red Hat because I have used a less secure password, so I need to click it twice. And I want to create a user here also. So it automatically created a user. I want to make this user as an administrator. Just check this box and he will be having admin equivalent rights. Again, I'm keeping my password as the same, Red Hat. Okay, just read the bottom line, what it says on my bottom line. What it says on my bottom line there? The password you have provided is weak. The password is shorter than 8 characters. You will have to press done twice to confirm it. Done. My installation is going on based on the packages that we selected. The number of packages here will increase or decrease. If I would have selected minimal, it's going to install only 297 something packages there. If you say virtualization host, number of packages will increase or decrease according to the virtualization scenario. Okay. So let my installation continue on. I am pausing my video recording for the time duration. Once it is complete, I'll again start the video recording. So like here you can see, it has installed all the packages and now it is giving me option to go ahead and reboot to start using it. So we'll click on this reboot. Allow it some time. We got our Red Hat Enterprise. Post reboot, if you have done the selection as server with GUI, there are 2 more steps left. One step, accepting the license agreement. And second step, configuring the kernel kdump. How much memory to be configured for kdump. Okay. So after reboot, but these options will be requested only in case when you have done a server with GUI installation. With minimal installation, it's not going to ask you that. So like here it is prompting me, license information, license not accepted. So I'll have to click on it, accept the license, and then done. Finish my configuration. So you'll be having option at the bottom as finish configuration. Once you are done with it, next step it is going to ask you for the kdump. Enable kdump. Don't make any changes. just simply click OK or finish the option that is coming. Now in your Red Hat, when you will click on forward, it's going to ask you options subscription management. We are talking about a Red Hat product, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, it requires you to have that subscription. Whenever you are working into production scenario, it is going to demand you to register for the support. What type of support license you have purchased? So you have a silver license, you have a gold license, you have a platinum license. What sort of license support do you want to have? Whatever you have purchased, you can just directly give the option, yes, I would like to register now. But if in case I don't have a support license, I don't have a subscription number, we are planning to have that subscription number. I want to firstly test the product, whether it will be capable of handling all my applications, the applications that we had earlier on our Enterprise Linux 6 or 5, will they be properly working on my 7 and on? When they work properly, then I will do the subscription. So in those scenarios, you can say that I prefer to register at a later time. And then click on your finish option at the bottom. So once you say that I prefer to register at a later time, it takes in a power cycle to present you with the login screen, where you can start interacting with your server. No, you cannot upgrade. So now here if we see, we have got our system up, running, and it is giving me that username which I have created at time of installation. When we set our root password, after that it has asked me to create a new user. So if you want to access, according to Red Hat, I should not log in on my server with root account. In spite, I should always get connected with a less privileged user account and then switch my user to root. That is always work in terms of my switching the users, so that we have a SU log maintained. Who switched to admin rights, on what date, so that I have a record, this admin operation happened on such and such date, such and such time. It's easy for us to identify. Okay. So according to Red Hat, I should log in with my less privileged account, provide in its password, so that I can access my GUI shell. So it has taken to my GUI environment now. Why we need to log in with a less privileged account and then switch on to the admin rights. Okay. Let's say you logged in on the server with admin rights. Accidentally you executed a command that could have deleted some important data. When you are admin, it's not going to ask you for any second question. With admin rights, admin is having whole control over the server. He is not having any restrictions for any type of files. So when an admin runs a command, let's say for example, rm-rf, remove all files recursively and forcefully, the whole directory structure is gone. Accidental deletion of data. Might be that was, let's say, my Mesbek bank, or it was my Ethiopian bank. The server on which he was working, it was Ethiopian bank server, and having credit card details of 500,000 credit card subscribers. Boom, gone. Everything is gone. If I don't have a backup, I have lost all my data. So in those scenarios, to avoid that kind of accidental deletions, one reason is this. Second reason, if we check the contents of our directory /var /log. So here we have various logs here. Okay, every time I am going to do sudo, every time I am doing the sudo, I am requesting for the administrative rights, and when I do sudo, we get the sudo logs created there. So now I know what was the username who attained the admin privileges at that time and executed this operation. So now I have details about how to work on that. Another advantage, that is, you want that whomsoever is working on the server should always be requesting for the privilege, that is registering himself before performing any administrative authority. It's a sort of getting in a log entry, registering yourself into register before going into the data center. That sort of operation we are doing. Let's start using my Red Hat server. While using sudo, it's going to prompt you. That is, you will have to firstly provide in the password. So still you have, might be you can just look in, okay, this was something I was trying to do. Let's say sudo user at abc. So now you are getting up the information, what I should have, will I be able to do this operation. Second thing, if this user is a member of administrative group, he will be able to run the command. But if he is not a member of the administrative group, he will not be able to do the job. He will be denied. He does not have permission to do this operation. So in a way, what you did is you enforce the user to stick to do only what is authorized to. More than his authorization, he should not be doing anything else. That's what the advantage of always working with least privilege accounts. Okay.